हम्म। हाँ। Welcome, sir.
Good morning, welcome.
Sir, I will just share the introduction PPT and then we will start.
हाँ हाँ.
So, dear participants, welcome to this next session. Today we have with us Dr. O.R. Jaiswal sir from VNIT Nagpur. He is professor at Department of Applied Mechanics Department, VNIT Nagpur. He has completed his BE from VRC Nagpur in 1987, then PG from IISc Bangalore in 1991, and then PhD from IISc Bangalore in 1995. His academic experience is very vast. He Central Building Research Institute, Roorkee research fellow work was completed by him. He was also engineering at Engineering Mechanics Research Center, Bangalore, as a senior research analyst from 1995 to 1997. Then he is also at University of Liverpool, UK, as a research associate for postdoctorate in 1997 to 98. He is also then served at Vishwesvaraya Regional College of Engineering, Nagpur, as a lecturer from 1998 to 2000. And then he is assistant professor from November 2000 to 2008, and then professor currently at from 2008 to till date. Then he is also the professor at HAG from July 2019. His research interests are particularly in the domain of earthquake analysis of structure, then tune mass dampers, then stability of shells, then wind response of tall chimneys, then elevated water tanks, and then railway bridges, and so on. He has completed many research projects. That is one of the important project, that is tune mass dampers for the buildings by MHRD of rupees 6 lakhs. Then he has also done the research for seismic response control of elevated water tank, sponsored by MHRD. Then another research was, that is guideline for seismic analysis of liquid storage tank. That was sponsored research project by IIT Kanpur. And then wind response control of tall RCC chimney. This was the research sponsored by UGC, completed by Jaiswal sir. And development of explanatory examples for IS code 1893 and IS code 13902, sponsored by World Bank Finance through IIT Gandhinagar. So today we have with us the eminent professor who has contributing in the various consultancy projects. That is, important consultancy projects are design of telephone exchange building at Bangalore, then vibration testing of GI wall for nuclear unit, then NCG industrial industries Nagpur, and then structural design checking of water tanks for government of Maharashtra. He has having more than 19 international journal papers and 50 research papers in the various conferences. Recently, he has guided 6 students for PhD, and 2 PhDs are going on under his guidance. And he has also guided more than 60 huge PG projects. He is also the member of many of the professional institutions such as Institute of Engineers, Indian Society for Earthquake Technology, Indian Society for Technical Education, then Indian Association of Computational Mechanics, and then Indian Association of Structural Engineers. And he is also one of the alumni member of VRCE. He has also received many of the awards, and with his vast experience, now today Dr. O.R. Jaiswal sir is with us for guidance on this topic. So I welcome to Professor O.R. Jaiswal sir, and I request him to share his presentation and start today's HTTP session. Welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor Khandwe. How about my sound volume is okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is very clear and nice.
Okay, so I'll share the PPT.
Yes, sir. PPT is now visible.
Is there any interruption on the screen? Some patch here and there?
No, sir. It is very clear now. Seismic design of water tank, IS 1893 Part 2, 2014.
Yeah. Okay.
Visible.
Okay. So, good morning to all the participants.
Sir.
And now in this discussion today, I will take you through some of the aspects of seismic analysis of water tanks. I think you have already done something on buildings, 1893 Part 1, that has been already covered. So some additional issues which are required in water tank, that I will discuss, and the provisions of Part 2, IS 1893 Part 2, which has been published in 2014, that we will discuss. Okay. So this is how outline is: general earthquake analysis, something about 1893, some quick recollection of how seismic load calculation is done for building, and then now we'll go in detail about water tanks. Okay. 1893 Part 2 and IITK GSDMA guidelines, they are 1893 Part 2 has been based on this document. IITK GSDMA means IIT Kanpur GSDMA document, okay, which is available on NICE website, nicee.org. Okay, it is available on that website. So this IITK GSDMA guideline is more elaborate. It has commentary also. Okay, and many provisions of IS 1893 Part 2, they have been taken from this document. Okay, and then we will in detail go through. Yes. Water tanks in past earthquakes, they have not performed satisfactorily in our country. This is one such photo. An elevated water tank which had rectangular container and frame type staging has totally collapsed. This is not expected. This is unacceptable. Water tanks are important structures. They are lifeline structures. They should not suffer. They should not suffer damage, leave alone the collapse. We expect that they should remain functional after earthquake, because after earthquake you need water, and water tank, water pipeline, okay, water treatment plants, all these structures are lifeline structures. They are important structures. They should remain functional. Okay. But in past earthquakes, Bhuj earthquake, Jabalpur earthquake, okay, and northeastern some other earthquakes, we have seen water tanks have suffered damage. They have become non-functional if they have not collapsed. Okay, so there is need to look at these things carefully and critically. Another failure, Bhuj earthquake. This is the damage to or collapse of a earthquake in 1993 Latur earthquake or Kilari earthquake of Maharashtra. Okay, then in 2004 there was a Sumatra earthquake which is famous for the tsunami which it generated. It ground shaking was felt at Port Blair in Andaman Nicobar. Okay, and the water treatment plant there, it had some ground supported rectangular tanks. It had damage here, crack. Okay, this type of things. Okay. Again, partially underground tank suffering damage. This kind of in water treatment plant there is a circular RCC tank. Okay, there is a manhole here, so water sloshed from there. Water sloshed from there during earthquake. There is no damage to this tank as such, but during earthquake, water sloshes. Water sloshes. Okay, and since this container, this tank was full, water sloshed from here. That is what when we visited that place, the maintenance people there, they told that, sir, during ground shaking, water came out of this thing. So water sloshed. This is an important thing, that water sloshing. Okay, and when sloshing, water goes up, so it should not hit the rooftop. So there should be sufficient space and things like that. So water sloshing gives some useful information regarding how tanks have behaved during the earthquake. Damage to this clarifloculator or flocculator bridge. Okay. Damage to pipelines. Okay, that is also seen. You see pedestal, there is a damage here. Okay. Because see, even if water tank remains intact but pipeline gets damaged, then our objective that water supply should remain in place, that gets lost. Okay, now this is what is in brief the occurrence of earthquake. There is a focus where rupture takes place or some sort of fault gets initiated. From there, stress waves travel, body waves and surface waves. Okay, and the point exactly above the focus is epicenter. And then surface waves and body waves, they travel. Okay, and at any location we feel the earthquake in the form of shaking of the ground. So how ground will shake at a particular location during an earthquake, it depends on many parameters: where epicenter is located, okay, how deep focus is or how much is focal depth, okay, and what is the soil media from the epicenter to the place where our structure is standing. Okay, all these factors, they dictate the characteristic of the ground motion at a particular location, and that is how intensity and those things get decided at a particular location. Okay, magnitude of the earthquake is dictated by how big fault has ruptured, okay, how big the event is, how much energy has been released, and things like that. Okay, so at a particular location, we see the ground motion of this type, ground acceleration. On x-axis here we have time, and on y-axis here we have the ground acceleration. So ground acceleration looks like this, very zigzag, random. Okay, this is the horizontal component of the ground acceleration. Okay, as you must be knowing by now, the horizontal component of ground motion is more severe, more critical than the vertical motion, vertical component of the ground acceleration. So first we give importance to the horizontal ground acceleration, though vertical ground acceleration is also important in certain cases, and due cognizance of that should be taken. So during earthquake, okay, ground shakes, and ground shaking is resolved into three components: one horizontal, okay, the second horizontal component, and third is the vertical component. Okay, like this, x, y, z, three components. Okay. And in addition to these three components, dead load, live load, of course, is acting there. Now, how much earthquake force will act on the structure during ground shaking is very simple. Okay. Now, structure is standing and suddenly ground shakes in horizontal direction. So structure is imparted with some acceleration. Structure is imparted with some acceleration. Okay. Then force acting on the structure will be given by Newton's second law. It will be given by Newton's second law of motion. What is that? Inertia force. Force H here is horizontal force, is acceleration into mass. Acceleration into mass. Okay. So if any body is imparted some acceleration, and if body is having some mass, then that body will be subjected to inertia force, which will be equal to mass into acceleration. That is what broadly is the Newton's second law of motion. So how severe is ground motion, how severe is ground shaking, that will decide the value of alpha here, and how heavy structure is, that will decide the value of m, mass of the structure. Okay, so earthquake force itself depends on the mass of the structure, mass of the building. Okay, so many times we hear this, that for better earthquake response, structure should be as light as possible. Wooden structures in hilly areas are preferred because their weight is less. Since their weight is less, during earthquake, less force will act on them, and that is how earthquake force, since force itself is less, their performance should be satisfactory. And alpha acceleration, this is the acceleration of that structure. Okay, so that will of course depend on how severe earthquake is and what is the characteristic of that body or that structure. Okay. So this is simple, alpha into m. So alpha I divide by g, and m I multiply by g. So multiply and divide by g, nothing will happen. Mass into g, mass into acceleration due to gravity, is weight of the structure, w. Okay, and alpha by g, this becomes a non-dimensional parameter. Okay, so precisely this is the expression given in IS 1893, that total horizontal earthquake force on a structure V is some coefficient AH into W. This is what you must have seen. Okay, and AH, the name given to AH is design horizontal seismic coefficient. Okay, it's some coefficient, it's a non-dimensional parameter. Okay, and for any structure, this AH, the formula for AH is Z by 2 into I by R into SA by G. Okay, Z by 2 into I by R into SA by G. Now, essentially this formula is nothing but mass into acceleration. Okay, but since it has been non-dimensionalized, mass has become weight, and this AH has become a non-dimensional parameter. Now, there are three components to it. This is component number 1, component number 2, component number 3. First component is zone. in which zone we are located. Okay. In our country, the Himalayan belt is more sensitive. Bigger and bigger earthquakes have occurred there. It is lying on the plate boundary, plate tectonics. Okay, you must have been introduced to plate tectonics. And in our country, the tectonic plate, it passes through Himalayan belt. Okay, in fact, rise of Himalayan is because of the convergent plate boundary at that location. Okay, this Indo-Australian plate is moving towards Tibet, towards China, and Eurasian plate is coming down. Okay, so there is a collision, there is a convergent plate boundary, subduction zone there, and that is how Himalayans are rising each day. There is a saying that every year Himalayan Mount Everest height increases about 2.5 inches. It is because of that. So, because of presence of this convergent plate boundary, the subduction zone, more and more and bigger earthquakes occur in Himalayan region. Okay, and then accordingly we have our seismic zone map, and we have to take value of Z zone factor from there. SA by G is the structural characteristics. Okay, so we'll see this one by one. Okay, so 1893 was first published in 1962, and then these are the years when its subsequent revisions have come. In 2002 it has been revised in 5 parts. Okay, and now it has been again revised in 2016. Next version has been published in 2016. The other parts of 1893, this part 2 we are discussing, published in 2014. Bridge and retaining wall, I think Dr. Ingde will take you through this. Okay, so that is published in 2015. Part 4, industrial structures, it is first published in 2005 and then revised in 2013. Part 5 is yet to publish. This is written in red color here. Okay, so that is yet to come, but its draft version is in circulation, I suppose. Okay, so this is the background of IS 1893. Okay, now in part 1 we have seismic zone map, we have response spectra, we have load combinations from part 1. Part 2, which deals with water tanks, liquid storage tanks, will give us what is the I value for water tanks, what is the response reduction factor for water tanks, and how to consider the modeling of liquid, because liquid sloshes during ground shaking. Liquid will slosh during any dynamic loading. Liquid will slosh. Okay, so that is what is the scope. Okay, so now we come back to this formula. As I said, Z comes from zone map. This is our zone map. We have 4 zones in our country: zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5. Okay, and there are zone factors given for each zone. Okay, like for zone 5, value of Z is 0.36. For zone 2, value of Z is 0.1. Okay, so that is the zone map. Okay, and right now we are discussing few things about buildings. Okay, so for building, SA by G will come from this response spectra. Okay, now for building, to use this SA by G from this formula, we should know the time period of the building. We should know this time period of the building. What is the natural period? Okay, what is the natural frequency? Natural frequency from structural dynamics point of view is given by under root K by M. Is given by under root K by M. Okay, so as such, if somebody has to find out the natural frequency, then one will have to calculate stiffness, mass, and use under root K by M. But for buildings, IS 1893 part 1 has done some good thing to us. Okay, what is that good thing? That it has given ready-made formulas for time period of the buildings. Okay, time period of the building. Okay, for building with infill wall 0.09 h by root d, for building with bare frame, RC building, formula is still simpler, 0.075 h to the power 0.75. So using this formula, by knowing the height of the building, by knowing the plan dimension of the building, at plinth level, one can calculate time period, and once you know time period of your building, depending on which type of soil your building is standing, you can use this formula to get the SA by G value. So that is how SA by G is obtained. I is importance factor, okay, for important building like hospital, power stations, okay. This I value will be higher. For normal ordinary building, I value will be less. R is response reduction factor, which is dictated by the ability of the structure to sustain reversal of stresses, without undergoing much degradation in terms of stiffness as well as in terms of strength. Okay. So that is how all these things are given. Okay. Now, once you know total force, it can be distributed to various floors in the form of hyperbolic distribution, okay, parabolic distribution, HI square, okay. And that is how you know the earthquake force for a building. So for a building, in equivalent static analysis, first step is to calculate time period, then use this formula, and then distribute the earthquake forces at various floors. Now, for buildings, okay, there is another method which is known as response spectrum method. Therein, first you have to do the modal analysis of your building to find out the modal frequencies and mode shapes. Okay, if you take first 3 modes of a 3-degree of freedom system, then you will have 3 values of H, Z by 2, I by R into SA by G corresponding to all 3 time periods. Then you have to calculate story force in each mode, then story shear at each floor, at each story in each mode, and then calculate Q1, Q2, Q3 by suitably subtracting them. So there are 2 methods, okay. One is equivalent static analysis, another one is response spectrum analysis, okay. For building, both have been explained in IS 1893 part 1, and accordingly one can use it, okay. Now, coming to 1893 part 2, this is the front page of that document, okay. Now, what is it that 1893 part 2 will tell us, okay. There are some scope, references, symbols, fine, and there are some provisions. In that provision, spring mass model. Since we have to model the liquid, okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Khandwe sir, you are telling something?
Participant has unmuted himself. You can continue, sir, please.
I'll
By
continue.
mistake, he has unmuted.
Hello.
Sir, please continue, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so in this part 2, apart from scope, references, and this conventional sections, no, symbols, we will have some provisions on spring mass model. What is impulsive mass? What is convective mass? Okay, how much importance factor to take? How much reduction factor to take? How to calculate hydrodynamic pressure? Okay, so spring mass model or 2 mass model for liquid storage tank is very popular, okay, and we will see that, okay. Now, then there are some provisions on miscellaneous provisions on something for safety of piping. In steel tanks which are used in petroleum industry, the shell, the steel plate, steel shell should not buckle, so provisions on that. But buried tanks, okay, P delta effect, okay, and quality control provisions for RC frame, RC shaft, okay, RC tank and shaft, okay, strong column, weak beam, staircase. some of these provisions are also explained. So this is how earthquake force is to be calculated for water tank. Okay. Now, first we start with Z will remain same depending on whether it is your building or tank. If you are in Nagpur, you will be in seismic zone 2, so value of Z will be 0.1. If you are in Guwahati, then you are in zone 5 and then you will have to take 0.36. So that remains same. I. Okay. Now I for building there are two values 1.5, 1, and of course nowadays in the new code there is a value of 1.2 also for those flat schemes where more than 200 people stay. Okay. And R value, okay, the R value depends on how good is the energy absorbing capacity, okay, and we reduce for buildings typically R value is 5 or 3 for moment resisting RC frames, okay. So for water tank time period formula has to be different. We can't use 0.09 H by root D. Importance factor has to be different. R factor has to be different, and of course damping value will have to be different. Okay, so we will consider these things. Okay, as I said, okay, this IITK GSDMA document. Okay, those of you who are interested, please note down this website www.nicwe.org. Okay, this IITK GSDMA guideline was first published in 2005, then it was revised in 2007, and part 2 has come up in 2014. Okay, so this is the two documents. 1893 part 2 is our IS code, and this is the IITK GSDMA guideline on liquid storage tanks. Okay, so broadly these are the types of structures tanks which we will be dealing. Ground supported RC tank, ground supported steel tank, elevated tank on frame type of structures, elevated tank on shaft type of staging, and underground tanks. Okay. So all these types of tanks, provisions for them will be given. Okay, ground supported tanks, okay, and then elevated tanks. Okay, there are underground tanks also. Okay, now we will start with the physics of the problem now. What happens when there is a water tank which is filled with water or filled with any liquid? If ground shakes, what will happen? What will happen to these water tanks? Okay, the first thing is that which is different than the building. First thing which is different than the building is that liquid will slosh. Okay, there will be sloshing mechanism. Okay, and because of this there will be pressure on the wall. Okay, now pressure on the wall, if you talk about it, there are two types of pressure: hydrodynamic and hydrostatic. Even when there is no earthquake, if a tank is filled with water, why tank? Even if a bottle is filled with water, okay, our Bisleri bottle, then water exerts hydrostatic pressure on the wall of the bottle. But this hydrostatic pressure is uniform in all the directions. Okay, it is uniform in all the directions, and hence, okay, bottle doesn't topple because there is a pressure in equal and opposite direction. There is equal and opposite pressure in all directions. Okay, so hydrostatic pressure, its net horizontal force is 0. Now you come to the ground shaking. If ground shakes in this direction, entire liquid will go in the opposite direction. Okay, will go in the opposite direction. So on the one side of the wall there will be more pressure, on the other side of the wall there will be less pressure. So there will be net horizontal force acting on the tank wall in one direction. In plan, if you look at, okay, like this is the something like central line of the tank, and there is more pressure on this side, okay, and there is less pressure on this side wall. Okay, so that is how hydrodynamic pressure will act, and net resultant pressure will not be 0. Net resultant force will not be 0. Okay, so liquid sloshes. Okay, now the sloshing of the liquid is basically fluid mechanics problem. Hausner in 1963, he analyzed this, okay, by writing the fluid equations, Laplace equation for fluid, okay, and then he came up with a simple mechanical model which is known as two mass model, where he said that some portion of the liquid will be sloshing and some portion of the liquid which is in the bottom side will remain rigid. It will vibrate along with the wall, whereas liquid in the top portion will be undergoing sloshing, and that is known as convective liquid. It undergoes convection. Okay. Impulsive liquid will be simply vibrating or moving along with this. Okay. So some part of the liquid is rigidly connected to the wall, some part is flexibly connected to the wall. Okay. So there are two types of divisions: convective liquid and impulsive liquid. Okay. They have their own pressure distributions. Convective liquid will have convective pressure, okay, which will have more pressure on the top, less at the bottom. Impulsive liquid will have very less pressure at the top, at very high value at the bottom. So these will be pressure distributions. Okay. So there are two types of now issues: convective and impulsive. Okay. And this is the mechanical representation of that. MC is the mass which will undergo convective vibrations. Impulsive liquid is the one which is rigidly connected to the water tank, connected to the water tank wall. Okay. So total mass of the liquid M will get divided in two parts: MC and MI. MC is convective mass and MI is impulsive mass. Okay. Now there are ready-made formulas given to calculate MI. In fact, formula is for MI by M, or there are ready-made graphs. Okay. This graph is a function of H by D. Okay. H is height of the liquid and D is the diameter. D is the diameter. Okay. So you know H by D or geometry of your tank. You can, from this violet color line, read the value of MI by MC, and from this green color you can read the value of MC by M. At any H by D, this summation of MI by M and MC by M should be unity. Okay. Then there are mathematical expressions also for MI by M and MC by M for circular as well as for rectangular tank. One can use that also. If suppose you are using Excel sheet for design purpose, you can put in these formulas in your Excel sheet so that you get exact value. Whereas if you try to read these charts, okay, you may slightly go this side, that side, and things like that. Okay. Okay. Now H by D. So if water is shallow, if tank is shallow, H by D, okay, then sloshing is more. If tank is taller, okay, H by D is more, then sloshing is less, and that is reflected in our graph also. See, if H by D is less, then sloshing is more. If sloshing is more, okay. If H by D is more, then sloshing is less and impulsive is more. Whereas if H by D is less, then this value is higher and impulsive value is less. Okay. So what does it mean for shallow tanks? For shallow water tanks, sloshing component of liquid will be predominant. Okay. So if liquid height is less, liquid depth is less, then sloshing will be more. Okay. In Hindi, there is a saying, "Adi ghagri chalkat jaye." Okay. If liquid is less, then sloshing is more. Okay. Okay. If liquid depth is more, then this chalakna or sloshing is less. Okay. So like this, graphs are given for all the parameters MI by M, MC by M, even for Kc, that is the spring stiffness. We need this spring stiffness in this model. This Kc is required. So that also readily available. Its formula is also available for Kc. For Kc, formula is also available, and for Kc, values are also available from this graph, depending on H by D values. Similarly for rectangular tanks. Okay. So now we have sorted out the issue. Okay, that there were two types of forces which will act on the tank wall: impulsive force and convective force. Impulsive force will come from impulsive mass. Convective force will come from convective mass. Okay. Then there this impulsive mass will act on a height hi, and convective mass will act on a height of hc. Okay. Now they will create the overturning effect. They will create the overturning effect. Tank will have tendency to overturn because of this. Okay. Now, if liquid goes in one direction, then the vertical pressure on the base slab will also get changed. This side vertical pressure on the base cell will be more. This side it will be less. Okay. So this will also create an uneven pressure distribution, which will also add to the overturning. And if that effect is included, then this liquid, the forces will act at still higher heights. Okay, rather than hi, it will act hi star if this base pressure uneven distribution is accounted for. Similarly, we will have hc star. Okay, and that can be obtained from the ready-made graphs given. Okay, so now we are ready. We know how much is our mi, we know how much is our mc, we know how much is our kc, we know at what heights this will act. Okay, so this whole tank filled with liquid is now converted into a mechanical model whose all the parameters are known. Okay, once that is known, then rest of it is simple. You know mc, you know kc, you should calculate convective time period. Okay, convective time period, some ready-made charts are given for that. Okay, then you can obtain impulsive time period also. Now, impulsive time period for ground supported tank will be different. Okay, and impulsive time period for elevated tank will be standard formula 2 pi under root m by k, where m will consist of impulsive mass and structural mass. Structural mass will include what it will include. Okay, it will include mass of container and 1/3 mass of staging. Okay, so mass of container means everything: wall, roof, slab, base slab, and staging 1/3 mass has to be added. And Ks is the stiffness of the staging. Ks is the stiffness of the staging. Okay. So since now we have two masses, impulsive and convective, there will be two time periods. So there will be two H, Hi and Hc. Okay, we calculate these forces. Okay, and add them using SRSS, square root of sum of squares. Okay, Vi square plus Vc square and under root of that, square root of sum of squares. Okay, that is the total earthquake force which will be acting. Okay, now for water tanks, okay, you have two mass model. Ks is stiffness staging, Kc is stiffness of convective mode. Okay, Mc is convective mass, Mi is impulsive mass, Ms is structural mass, that is mass of the container plus 1/3 mass of staging. Now, rather than solving a 2 degree of freedom system like that, okay, one can use two different single degree of freedom system, 2D, okay, because their frequencies or their time periods are well separated. You can have them separately so that this complications because of solving a 2 degree of freedom system won't arise. Okay, and this assumption is valid because Tc is much larger than Ti. Okay, so that we will calculate for elevated water tank. So in elevated water tank, if you have to calculate Ks, stiffness staging, you will have to apply force P at the CG of the container, and that CG should be connected with the frame in rigid fashion, and get the delta. Once you know the delta, Ks can be obtained. Okay, this is a standard exercise in mechanics. Okay, so this is first difference. In elevated water tanks, you have to calculate time period like this, whereas in building, things were readily given. Though it's an empirical formula, but it was readily given for standard or normal types of buildings. Okay, if building is having too many complications, then of course this formula will not be applicable even there. Okay, so now we know Z, we know SA by G. Okay, time period we will be knowing. Okay, I and R we will have to sort out. Okay, so we will have these two formulas and we add them and we. Okay, now there is one more issue. This SA by G corresponding to C in convective mode, damping is very less. Okay, so we consider convective mode damping. Okay, convective mode damping as 0.5%, and hence we should multiply these our factor by 1.75. Multiplying factor is 1.75. Same thing is done in other codes. Okay, those of you are interested, Eurocode and American Concurrent Institute, their multiplying factor is 1.5 and 1.673. in our code that multiplying factor because of lesser damping in convective mode is 1.75. Okay. That is what is here. I importance factor. This is the table from 1893, black and white, and I have converted it into like this. Okay. So we should use I is equal to 1.5 for most of the tanks. Tanks used for storing drinking water, volatile material, inflammable petrochemicals, okay, firefighting services. Tanks which are important in post-earthquake freezing, all of them should have I 1.5. All other tanks which doesn't have any risk can have 1. Okay. Okay. Then R value, response reduction factor. Okay. So response reduction factor is given differently for different types of tanks. Okay. So let me come to that one by one. Okay, here of course these values are given. There are tanks which are of importance to us. Elevated water tank which is supported on RC frame, elevated water tank which is supported on RC shaft, okay, and elevated water tank which is supported on steel frame. This is as far as elevated water tank is concerned. So for them, R value maximum is 4 if all precautions are taken, all ductile detailing provisions are obtained, okay. Or if it is elevated tank wherein shaft is used, then R is either 2.5 or R is 4, 2.5 or 4. Okay. So this is how the R values are given. Okay. Now, one can argue here that why R values of water tanks are different than R values of the building. Okay, and that is the topic wherein some good additional work is required, wherein you should assess the ductile behavior of a building frame. We should assess the ductile behavior of a water tank frame. There is a difference between water tank frame and building frame. So that is how, whereas for building R is 5, for water tank it is given as 4. Okay. But even whether 4 is sufficient or not, that needs to be properly addressed or sorted out. Okay. Now, there is difference between IS 1893 part 2 and IITK GSDMA guideline. Okay. Whereas code says that you can take R value as high as 4 for spatial moment resisting frame, but IITK GSDMA document says that you should take it only 2.5, not more than that. Okay. So this type of differences exist, and there are bases for that which have been discussed. Okay, which have been discussed. Okay, they have compared with other international codes and things like that. Okay. Now see, water tank, okay, and building, there are certain differences. Number of load paths in case of building are more. Buildings have walls also, whereas water tank frame staging doesn't have wall. It is a bare frame. Okay. Then in case of building, beam sizes are quite reasonable, quite heavy. Whereas in water tank, braces are not that heavy, they are nominal sizes. Okay. So R values are different for various reasons. Okay, but that is the difference between these two. Okay. Okay. Now once we know how to calculate convective time period, convective force, impulsive force, then other forces are roof force and wall. Okay, and all of them can be added. All impulsive things can be added together. All convective things can be added together, and then total overturning moment will be again obtained using SRSS, square root of sum of squares. Okay, SRSS. Okay. Is overturning this thing. Okay. So this is the brief of that. You calculate impulsive, calculate convective, and then total base shear. Okay. There's nothing more than that to this. Okay. Okay, there are some additional things. Okay, so another 10 minutes or so, I'll try to finish off. Okay, main part we have discussed how to calculate earthquake force and how to apply it. Okay, now empty tank should also be analyzed. You should analyze tank full condition, but one should also analyze empty tank. Now what will happen in empty tank? Mass will be less, but since mass is less, your time period will get reduced. So your SFIG value will be higher, could be higher. okay, though your W itself has reduced, okay, then critical condition should be analyzed, okay, in case of empty tanks, okay. So empty tank analysis should be done. Next is direction of seismic force, okay. In case of building, what is the provision? The provision is that building, if it has orthogonal frames in plan, then building should be analyzed first for loading in X direction, next for Y direction, and they should not be combined together. Okay. You should treat both as two different cases. Okay. Now, in case of water tanks, okay, what it says that critical direction should be obtained. Okay. So let us see this. If you have a elevated water tanks with 4 columns, then if you analyze the building for earthquake in this direction, you will find that shear force in the braces is very high. But if you apply the earthquake in diagonal direction, like this case, okay, diagonal direction, okay, then axial force in column is maximum. Okay. So for column design, you should apply earthquake in diagonal direction. For beam design, you should apply it in either X direction or Y direction. Okay. Like that, there is some guidelines given for 6 column staging also, for 8 column staging also, and things like that. Okay. Now, if critical direction cannot be ascertained, then 130 rule should be obtained. 100% in X direction plus 30% in Y, and vice versa. 100% in Y and 30% in X. Okay. Or SRSS can be done. Okay. Impulsive pressure on wall, that can be calculated using this formula. Okay. And for AIW, there is a formula there. Okay, so this is how impulsive pressure varies along the height of the wall, this QIW, that coefficient, okay? And it's a function of H by D 2, and here H by D is 0.25. H by 2 is 0.25, means very shallow tanks. Okay? So these pressures can be obtained for circular tank as well as for rectangular tank. For rectangular tank also, okay. There are ready-made formulas given for pressures and coefficient of pressures. Okay. There were some corrections. You can take note of this in some of these graphs in IS 1893 part 2. So I think in amendments now they are correcting it. Okay. So pressure graphs, okay, they have to be used carefully. And as I said, they are taken from IITK GSDMA document, so you can refer that document. That document has correct graphs and correct type of figures at various places. Okay. Okay. Convective pressure and impulsive pressure both have to be calculated on the wall. Okay. This is for convective pressure. Okay. Then on base also water pressure will exert, that should be calculated. Okay. Again, same thing, wall, convective. Okay. So, pressure on the base, that can be obtained. Now, a few things about how to design the wall, isn't it? Now, total pressure acting on the wall is impulsive pressure and convective pressure. So this impulsive pressure distribution, which is parabolic, is converted into a trapezoidal thing. Okay, and this trapezoid is further divided into one rectangle and one triangle. Okay, and from IS 3370, you know the moment coefficients, again other coefficients for uniform loading as well as for hydrostatic loading. So from there, total moment which will be getting exerted on the wall, okay, that can be obtained. Similarly for convective mass also, convective, okay. Then if vertical excitation is included, then water weight will increase and decrease because of change in G value. Like when we go in the lift up and down, our weight, we feel as if there is some problem in our stomach because of change in the weight. Sometimes we feel weight loss, sometimes we feel heavy and our legs suffer some type of sensation. Okay, so all those things, okay, that happens. Okay, so AV is coefficient of vertical acceleration or design coefficient is given by 2/3, and value of Z by SA by G will also be something different. Okay. Pressure on wall will exist. Okay. So you will have to combine all this pressure. Okay. See, impulsive pressure, pressure on wall together, convective pressure and then vertical pressure. They have to be added using SRS. Okay. So sloshing wave height. Okay. When liquid will slosh, that wave height can be calculated. Formula is given for that, ready-made. Okay. And one should ensure that free wall provided at the top, okay, particularly in water tanks, should be sufficient. Okay. Okay. Now these are the miscellaneous provisions. There is a provision on piping, should be flexible enough. Buckling of steel shells. Okay. Buried tanks, there are some provisions. Shear transfer. In case of elevated water tanks, the container and its base slab is very rigid. Then suddenly flexible staging starts. So at that place, shear should be properly transferred. The code says P delta effect should also be taken into account. Okay. Then aesthetics. These are some of the clauses. Okay. It says that see, water tank, all said and done, is a benchmark structure in any city, in any village, in any town. So it should look reasonably good. So aesthetics should not be compromised too much. Okay. If there is a proposal to provide elevated water tank with some architectural features, they should be entertained and proper precautions should be taken. Okay. Then quality control. Okay. Some of the things I will quickly tell. For column in RC frame stage, minimum size should be 400 mm. Okay. If tank is very small, then you can provide 300 mm. Okay. Then column height between two braces should be not more than 10 times the size of the column. Okay. So bracing should be provided. Okay. Then reinforcement detailing should be done as per IS 13920. Okay. It should not happen that okay, detailing should be done as per 13920. Okay. So some precautions which have to be taken that are given here. Okay, for columns. Similarly for braces. Okay, the minimum width should be 1/30th of its clear length. Okay, in zone 4-5 diagonal bracing should be provided. Okay, foundation. Similarly, provisions are given for RC shaft. How much should be thickness of the shaft? Okay, thickness of the shaft, its reinforcement, and things like that. Quite a bit of information has been added here, and they help. They are useful. Okay, for shaft as well as this. Strong column, weak beam, it exists in buildings also, so that will continue in elevated water tanks. Okay. For water tank staging profile, there is a code IS 11682. Those of you who are interested, you can see the provisions of this, and they will have to be followed. Okay. So in conclusion, we have both the documents, IITK GSDMA guideline and 1893. Okay. We have two mass model. Okay. And we should properly understand how convective and impulsive masses come. Okay. R values, I values, critical direction, hydrodynamic pressure, seismic wave height. Okay. These are some of the provisions. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I will be happy to.
There are some few questions in the chat box.
Okay.
So one is from Sandeep Patil.
Okay, let me start from the top. Okay. Chat box, Sandeep Patil. Which criteria are considered to design the dam or reservoir in earthquake zone? Can you please explain in short forces acting on the dam wall? Okay, now see, dam also situation is same. Okay, there will be a hydrodynamic pressure on the dam wall. Okay, now see, part 5 has not come up, but the draft version of IS 1893 part 5 is in circulation. Point number 1. Point number 2, IITK GSDMA, there is a document on earthen dam, I think. There is a document on earthen dam. So you can refer that document also, wherein this block theory, okay, to calculate the stability of the earthen dam has been discussed, and also the provisions to calculate earthquake forces. Okay. Broadly, there will be inertia force because of the wall of the dam itself, and this hydrodynamic pressure acting because of the reservoir. Okay, and in case of dam, now since length of the water body is very large, okay, there are other provisions, those also should be considered. In IS 1893 of 1984, there are provisions on dam. You can refer that also, provided you get hold of IS 1893 of 1984, which was in use up to 2002. When 2002 came, then only this divided in parts. Okay, so that much information I would like to go. From Mayank, there is a question, sir. What about JO? JO. I didn't get what is this JO.
Next question you can take.
Yeah. Next, what about hoop stress in circular tank? Yes. Now, see, for hydrostatic pressure, how do you calculate hoop stress? Same provisions will have to be used. Okay, the axial thrust, horizontal thrust, and moment which is coming on the wall. Okay, so you have ready-made information for calculating hoop stress due to hydrostatic pressure, and this hydrodynamic pressure we have converted into one rectangle and one triangle, so that can be used there also. Okay, so that should be of help to you. That's all in chat box.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, okay.
So thanks, sir, for delivering this today's session. It was good insight for IS 1893 on water tank.
Yes.
And there's so many participants will find it very helpful for when they are came across for the design or that some consideration regarding the construction of water tank.
Okay.
I also thanks to all the participants for being with us and patience listening to the session and interacting with the expert for asking some of the questions. So I think it was the time to stop here now, because again next session we have to start after the lunch break at 1 p.m. So here, before leaving the meeting, you can just type your mobile number as attendance purpose in the chat box, and then we will stop here for that. Again, we are meeting with Dr. O.R. Jaiswal sir with very interesting topic regarding tune mass dampers. So there again, we will see you, sir, again in the next upcoming session.
Yeah, yeah. That has to be changed. Huh? I had told you that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So that I will convey you on the message. According, then we can decide
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you.
So before the ending this meeting, participants can type their mobile number in the chat box for attendance purpose. And after 2-3 minutes, then we will stop here for this session again. The another wonderful session will begin at 1 p.m. With another expert of this HTTP. So on the behalf of Department of Civil Engineering, I thanks again to all. And now we will stop here for this session. Thank you. लगेच